everyone, welcome to the surprise book club. Because yesterday I made some poll on Instagram and it shows that some of you all want to have some book club in English. So I would like to give it a try to see whether it's gonna work out or not. So actually English is more like my primary language because I speak English all the time at home. I speak English with Valery. Okay, he's Russian, but still I didn't get to speak much Russian. My Russian is not so good, but anyway, so today we're gonna be talking about the book called The Alchemist again, and just like yesterday. So we're gonna be going through all the points like yesterday, and I will be describing you about the literary devices, discussing the literary devices as well as the key points and key interesting things that happens in the book. So let's hop along and let's go. And don't worry if you don't make it to this session because I didn't tell anyone beforehand, and also I actually arranged this as a surprise. So let's see. I also need to practice my life skills as well. So, The Alchemist is a book written by Paulo Coelho. He's a Brazilian writer and a lyricist. And a lyricist may sound like a writer, but actually he's someone who writes lyrics to the songs. At the age of 23, he left Brazil to travel through South America, Europe, and North Africa. And I mentioned yesterday that usually people who are sort of highly successful in life, they usually have a track record of having spent some time abroad before. So if you can afford to go abroad, or if there's any chance for you to go abroad, I highly recommend you to do it straight away, because it will broaden your mind, it will increase your creativity, as well as opens you up to new things and new life path. I also forgot to mention that when Paulo Coelho was young, he used to get admitted to the, psychological asylum. Hello! So he got admitted to the psychological asylum when he was like in his teenage years, because his parents thought that he had some sort of like psychosis, like some mental illnesses. So it was quite serious. He'd been through the electric chair and all those like harsh treatments that was subjected to people who has mental illness. So that's probably also influences him on how he views the world and also how he writes books. It is also usually said that writers originally comes from an emotionally repressive family. Well, I have no comment on that, but to a certain extent, yes. Like, I like to talk a lot and I feel like I don't get to talk enough somehow. So I feel that if I get to write, then I can talk about everything that I wish to talk about in the world. Hello, Tuan. Hello, everyone. So nice to see you all. So today we are talking about the book Alchemist. So the first successful novel of Paulo Coelho was The Pilgrimage in 1987. He wrote so many books, but the most successful book was Alchemist, and it took him only 2 weeks to write about that book, because he said that he already has this book written in his soul, so he knows what to write about. The theme of this book is the mysticism, the journey, the religion, identity, quest, and the coming-of-age novel. So, interesting thing here, coming-of-age novel is a kind of novel that the main character evolves as the main character personality evolves as the story goes on and as the book goes on. Hello, hi Sean, so happy to see you. I'm happy to see you too. I wish I could have been to Bali, but anyway, we will meet somewhere soon. By the way, so, and also the coming of age novel is something prevalent in German around 18th century. It's called Bildungsroman, which is a kind of literature, a kind of novel that aims to teach people something. That, like before that, there was an age of enlightenment. And after an age of enlightenment, people get so smart. So they start to come up with the new ideas and also new ways of like writings and different schools of thoughts and writing. So that was also part of it. And the book, okay, we talk about the book now. So the book is about Santiago. He's a young shepherd from Andalusia in Spain. And it's about his journey to the threshold of the foot of pyramid from Andalusia to Giza. The scene is set in the old age. So there was no airplane back in that time, and he has to go on feet like this to Giza. Of course, he has camels and also all those stuff. And the short story, it was inspired by the short story by Jorge Luis Borges, which is an Argentinian writer. And I remember that, like, in the among the Spanish writers, the theme of magical realism was also very prevalent. And magical realism is something, it's a genre of writing that the fantasy elements will be included in the realism, will be included seamlessly in the story, and makes the reader feel as though it was natural. I mean, the difference between the fairy tale and magical realism, I think, is that if you read fairy tale, you still kind of feel like, oh, it's just a story made for children. But when you really read like magical realism, everything will go so smoothly and so seamlessly, as though it was really happened in your life, in real life. So here goes the story. First, Santiago, he's a shepherd. He used to be a, he used to be a priest, or he graduated as a priest, but he didn't want to be. Like, his dad wanted him to be a priest in the Christian monastery, but he was a rebellious guy. So he wants to become a shepherd. He became a shepherd because he loves traveling. And around that time, he also was looking forward to reunite with the woman that he fell in love the year before. One day, Santiago went to the old church and spent the night under the sycamore tree, sleeping. And then he dreamed of a girl and who told him that there's a treasure at the foot of the pyramid in Giza. So if you come here, you will find a hidden treasure. So that really makes Santiago feels very like, oh wow, like, I didn't know this before. He feels like he wants to travel. So in the end, he traveled to Tarifa in Spain. He met a fortune teller and asked her to interpret the dream. I need to say hi to everyone. Okay, asked the fortune teller to interpret his dream, and the fortune teller asked for 1/10 of treasure. He said, okay, yes, but then in the end, the fortune teller said the language of the world is difficult to interpret, which left Santiago feels really disappointed. Oh my god, like, I have to share 1/10 of my fortune and she didn't tell me any single thing. So, but in the end, the most important thing that he got from this fortune teller is that she taught him that it's the most simple in the life, it's the most simple thing in our life that are the most extraordinary. That's very interesting, and that can indeed be true. We tend to get caught up in our ambition, in the quest to pursue for the betterment of our life, and in the end, what we already have, for example, a nice flat with ample lights, or like our loving family member, or the fact that we have some talents, or like we tend to ignore all the good things in life by looking at the things that we lack. And this is probably actually what was meant by the fortune teller. Then Santiago continues to further travel to meet an old man. His name is probably Melchizedek, something like that. I'm not sure how to read this, but he proclaimed himself that he's a king of Salem. So he talks about the principle of favorability, then that the universe will conspire you whatever you want. And he's the guy who told Santiago that he must get serious about this dream and travel to the pyramid of Giza in order to fulfill his dream. Like, you cannot take this not seriously. You really have to take this seriously. Something like that. And he said the person's destiny is their life purpose. And And the king of Salem asked him only the exchange of 1/10 of his sheep herd. And of course, he told him that treasure is Santiago's destiny. Let's go to the next one. It looks like this, my book. It's a bit messy, but I can still read it, so it's okay. Well, the omen convinced Santiago to set off his quest and advises Santiago to pay attention to signs and make his own decision from now on. If you are following your dream, it's so important that you pay attention to the signs around you and that you make your own decision, because that's your destiny. It has got to come from you, right? And then he was given two stones, which is called Urim and Tumim. I don't know why it's named like this, very weird names. And this stone is a kind of like a good luck charm, something like that, that every time Santiago looks at it, it reminds him of the conversation of the wise old guide, and that keeps him continuing throughout the journey. So next, he traveled further to Tangier, Morocco. And now, because he's from Spain, he's a Spanish Christian boy, so he got into a very interesting custom called over there. He got to witness a very interesting custom over there, which is the Arabic culture and also Muslim people and the local custom. He didn't understand a thing. His money was being stolen. He felt overwhelmed and he wanted to give up. And he continued to look at the stones and continue his journey. Okay, he was so damn broke. So he went to see the crystal merchant. He offers to clean his goods for food. Then the merchant suggested Santiago that he could keep working for him until he earns enough money to continue the journey. And by the way, this is quite usual situation, at least in Thailand, that whatever Santiago suggested the old man, the crystal merchant, to improve his business, the merchant was very resistant to it, as he didn't see the need for it. So in this case, I think merchant is a symbol for someone with small dream and who didn't really see the need to like improve themselves or improve their business. And also, the merchant also questioned Santiago about his quest, saying that he can build one pyramid in a garden. Why do you need to go to Giza? You can literally build one here. And Santiago replies that you've never had dreams of travel. Of course, if you never had dreams, you will never understand what it means to have dreams, right? So the merchant replied, he prefers to dream about the dream instead of really having to set off for the dream. He said he talks about the Muslim, and that one of the 5 pillars of being Muslim is that you have to take on a pilgrimage to Mecca. And he said he would rather dream about going to Mecca rather than doing it, because once he accomplished it, his life may become boring and that he has nothing to dream about. I mean, that's a good point. 1 year fast forward, Santiago became rich again, and the merchant also made a lot of money. So the merchant also got to learn something from Santiago. Then they travel again in the desert, met an Englishman who is looking for an alchemist. He traveled all the way to the place called Al-Fayoum in Egypt in the same caravan. He had the conversation with a camel driver, and the camel driver said the clan was brewing, but he fears nothing because he lives only in the present. He fears nothing because he only lives in the present is a really interesting idea here, because Santiago was shaped greatly by this idea later. It was like his motto, it becomes a way of his life. So sometimes when you are traveling on the trip, you get to learn a lot of small things like here and there. So you got to learn small things. Hello, we are doing book live in English. Thank you for joining. So he was learned sometimes when we are on the trip, we got to really learn a bit of life advices, life wisdom, bits of pieces like here and there from people that we never know we're gonna meet in our life. And that piece of advice, that piece of wisdom becomes our pillar of life somehow. So becomes our wisdom, becomes our North Star, becomes something that guides us. So that is exactly like very interesting thing about traveling. So if you can travel, you should, but maybe take a longer trips and more local and meet a lot of people. Then it's definitely worth it and exciting. It's a bit tiring, but it's still good to feel tired for sometimes when learning something new. Of course, you will overcome everything. So, and now they arrive at the oasis. Like, look, I was like drawing the oasis here as well. So it's like I try to make the nose as understandable, at least for me, as much as I can, and incorporate some drawings here. So at the oasis, which is, do you know what is oasis? Oasis is like the place in the middle of the desert where the desert or desert. No, hold on. Desert. I think desert is like a place full of sand, and desert is actually like snacks, right? It's so funny because when you talked about sweets, it said dessert, but it has double S. But desert has only one S, right? It has only one S, but it's being pronounced desert. And this is so absurd about learning English, basically. So let's get back to it. He went on oasis trying to find the alchemist, like looking around, where are you, alchemist? So he met Fatima, which is a Muslim girl. Here's the drama happens because he's a Christian boy. He comes from a really religious family, and Fatima, of course, it's a Muslim girl's name, Fatima. So he fell in love, and there he understood the language of the world, which is love. He described her mouth as like very beautiful, somewhere between like smiling and also sort of like frowning, maybe. Like, I forgot how it exactly like was for the wording, but it's pointing something like this. So she must be extremely beautiful, of course. And after spending some time with her, like, he madly fell in love with her and felt like he was tempted to abandon his quest. No way! Like, he's about to abandon his quest. But Santiago had a vision. Okay, here, like, need to pay attention. Santiago, he was a shepherd. He was such an ordinary, normal, boring boy, let's say. But because of his travels along the journey, he starts to evolve. He starts to pay attention to more signs and omens. And now he became someone so special who started to have a vision of a battle. He developed some special ability, and this special ability he would never have discovered it, he would never have seen it had he didn't set off to travel, right? So he had a vision of a battle, so he told the tribe leader that there's a battle, like the clan battle here. So the tribe leader appointed him a counselor, and there was like a lot of dust, a lot of messiness, a lot of hectic things going on of the war. Then when the dust settled, the alchemist visited, and the alchemist reminds him to, first, you need to fulfill your destiny, and second, telling him how his life would be like if he decides to give up. A lot of people think that it costs nothing to not follow your dream, but according to this book, there's a cost to it if you don't follow your dream, which is the regrets, the resentment, probably envy, and also jealousy of seeing people being happy with their lives. Like, I mean, I think that a lot of us in our generation, maybe not our generation, it's somehow a human thing, I think, that we sort of tend to suffer from like sort of envy, jealousy, when we see people who are better than us in, like, maybe they have a nice boyfriend, they have a nice house, nice family, nice kid, whatever. And it's actually a painful thing to be experiencing envy, for the person themselves, and also for the other person who sort of know someone is like envying of me, because sometimes when someone envies of us, they tend to say nasty things and like be mean to us. So it's a no-go situation for both of us. And envy is also actually a consequences of not following your dream, being grumpy, and then you regret you didn't do certain things when you were young. Oh, I should have done that. By the way, in the end, Santiago decided to leave Fatima for his quest. Then he traveled the desert again. You have got to imagine that he went from Spain to Morocco, and then from Morocco he travels like in the desert all the way to Giza. So it was like a really, really big Sahara desert. So it's a really big journey basically. So he went on the camel, traveled the desert, and then on the way the alchemist taught Santiago to listen to his heart, teaches him the language of the world. In the book, in The Alchemist, there are certain words and phrases that it's being repeated over and over again several times. For example, language of the world, personal legend. And I find that when you repeat certain words again and again and again in the book, or like in the novel, it creates a sense of mysteriousness, because when you mention things over again and again, it seems puzzling, it seems like a riddle, it seems like something so mysterious. It adds an allure and also adds a mysticism to the book, which makes the book actually more attractive and glowing. It's like when you are revealing too much, you're not interesting anymore. When something is too revealed, maybe I couldn't think of a better example right now, but probably like a porn movie. If like some people say that it's better to watch a rated R porn. Why do I even talk about this in the book club? But like some people say that it's more interesting when things are not fully revealed, and the same way it also works like this. Like when you say something but you don't tell the whole meaning of it, you make it a riddle, you make it sound puzzling, you conceal parts of it. That's exactly makes the book interesting. So okay, so he teaches the language of the world and also to follow every sign that he sees. He got then both the alchemist and also Santiago got accused of being spies. So the alchemist told the soldiers that that Santiago is alchemist that can turn himself to the wind. Of course, Santiago probably felt, oh, what the fuck, like, I'm so sorry, no profanity here, but what the heck, I'm just a normal, ordinary shepherd boy who's traveling the world, basically. It's already big considering that time, and I'm traveling the world, and why does he say that I can turn myself into the wind? What is he talking about? Of course he must be frightened, because he could die, right? So the soldiers wanted to see him turning into the wind and told them that so the alchemist told them that they would need 3 days to prepare. Of course, Santiago was stressed, of course, like super stressed. 3 days later, Santiago, calling upon the desert, the wind, the sun, and the hand that wrote all. Pay attention, this is very interesting. The hand that wrote all means actually like a god, because this book has some close ties to the supernatural and also God. So it's like the hand that wrote all basically means that like God who conspires the events to happen, and also all events that happens has an interconnections of things. So that was basically what it means, at least in my opinion. The Arab recounts the legend of a boy who had turned himself into the wind, almost destroying a military camp in defiance of the most, is it right? The defiance of the most powerful chief in the desert. So imagine that Santiago was a normal, boring boy, and now he became a legend that was told by generations that he can turn himself into the wind and call upon all the powers in the desert. What it means is that you become special once you set off on your journey of life, of following your dream, and it's about the journey that matters, of course. And also, hadn't Santiago traveled, he would have been normal and boring and maybe unfulfilled is the right way to say. Yeah, then that's probably the gist of it. So now both of them, they gained a lot of respect from the soldiers. They went back to the monastery, and the alchemist shows Santiago that he can turn the lead into the gold. Then it was divided by 4 parts, one for the alchemist, one for Santiago, one for the priest, no, 2 for Santiago, 1 for himself, and 1 in case he might need it. I guess he would give it back to that fortune teller, but it was not revealed actually, by the way. And so 1 for the priest at the monastery, 1 for the alchemist, and then 2 more for Santiago, 1 for himself, and 1 for whenever he needs it. Then they arrive at the pyramid. There comes a little bit of boring part, I would say. It's like this book is so fun on a journey, but at the end is like, okay, I'm spoiling already, right? I hope that you have read it before, but it's still a good book. It's definitely a good book, but it's not a kind of book that you look forward to the end. It's a kind of book that you enjoy the journey, and it's still worth every minute to read it. So I highly recommend you to read it. So pyramid, beware of, and there was like sort of in the dialogue that Santiago came up with, it was, beware of the place where you are brought to tears. That's where I am, and that's where your treasure is. If you cry about something, good or bad, that's probably the sign to look for. And then he used his heart, trust his heart, then he started to dig the pyramid. Then he got attacked by people. He talked to those people. He said to those people that, okay, like he's finding the treasure under the foot of the pyramid. And those guys were absolutely laughing at him, saying, okay, the treasure is in Andalusia, under the sycamore tree where he had slept. And it actually the place where he was before the pilgrimage. And then he went back home. So he went back home, give 1/10 of fortune to the fortune teller. It isn't said which one is the 1/10 of the fortune, but probably that piece of gold that he got from the alchemist. The wind blows a kiss from Fatima, and that was it for the whole thingy. So the whole book. It's interesting. So there's one thing that I forgot to mention before, which is the fact that actually there was like also the lesson from the book saying that you should always follow the omen, and the omen is like a kind of things that tell you the sign, tell you where to look for, like which direction to look for, like sort of, I'm not sure how to translate it in English, but like in Thai language I know how to say it. And you should always follow the omens, and the omens can appear in our life, like in our daily life. For me, for example, the omens would be maybe like likes, engagement, like some of my posts has more likes than others, which means people may like something like that more, or like some comments, or the fact that when I walked to the bookshop, back then I was doing 3D, and then I walked to the bookshop, and then I realized, oh, there was a certain point in my life that I really like reading, and I really aspired and wanted to become a writer, and how come I forgot those dreams? Like, I mean, like, okay, maybe it's time for me to pick up, like, why don't I want to continue that dream again? That was I was thinking about. So that's also probably one of the omens for me to follow the dream and to be happy. We should start to also learn to spot these omens and then follow in the direction of it. That's exactly what I learned from that book. So we're gonna go to the analysis part. So we often hear the word personal legend in the book, like for example, one must follow his personal legend to be happy. It was mentioned so many times, and personal legend is like something or like some conditions that makes a person feel fulfilled in life. It is an only means by which an individual can live a happy and fulfilling life, and when achieved, an individual can become a higher being, and become a higher being doesn't necessarily mean that you become a spirit, or you died, or like your spirit leaves your body, something like that, but maybe more enlightened, better informed people. Hello everyone. Better informed human being who can make better decisions, happier, vibrating higher. In the New Age community, they like to use that word, something. So when you are a higher being, you experience more joy, more happiness, more fulfillment, more of everything, more of all the feelings that you have. It wouldn't be so short-lived, all the things that you felt. So it also says that those put off pursuing personal legend, suffers regrets and also feeling miss out, like crystal merchants that may miss wealth and other things that universe gives to him, and gives to those who follows personal legend. And personal legend can also be what you have always wanted to accomplish. Kids, interesting thing is that kids always know what they want to accomplish. When we were young, we had a lot of dreams, right? And we always feel like, oh, everything is so possible. Where the hell did this dream go? Where the hell did it went away? Of course, it must be somewhere here at the back of our brain, but we just don't think about it enough. Or we tell ourselves that we have to grow up, we have responsibility of being adults, but actually you can be an adult and be a kid at the same time. And this is a secret to life. I cannot proclaim that yet, because like I'm still not super successful yet, but I believe that personally. You can choose, but I choose to believe that there's still a kid within me, and that whatever that I dream in my childhood, maybe not exactly everything, like being an astronaut, probably I won't be, but I still would like to like write a book and be a writer. Let's see how it goes. By the way, also, personal legend is not found at the end of Santiago's life, or let alone at the ends of his trip. But personal legend is actually a journey to fulfillment. So it teaches us to pursuing the personal legend, teaches us along the way to take the joy of everyday life, to take it step by step, to be happy in the pursuit of it, and not to think about the end destination, but think about daily steps and daily things, and things that happen daily, basically, that fulfills you. Next one, interesting thing, follow the omens. So when you apply to pursue personal legend, omens will show up. It could be people, place, feelings that remind you of your childhood dream, basically. And omens will abandon you if you abandon them. So these omens that remind you of childhood dream, things that remind you of childhood dream, will start to go away if you don't pay attention to them. I think that's very scary. It scares me, at least. It could be different for everyone, but like, I will be scared to not be a kid again, to forget everything that I had as a kid. At least it's for me. And well, I have a question for you as a follower. So what are your omens in life that could lead to your personal legend? Yeah, like that would be interesting to hear from you, and it would be so great if you could leave some comments here talking about your personal like omens and personal legends. That'd be so cool. Also, don't believe in the world's greatest lie. And it was the saying from the old king. He said, at certain points in our lives, we lost control of what happened to us, and our lives become controlled by fate. And that's the world's greatest lie, because actually we can be in control of our fate. Here's what I believe, at least, but it also has some tints, like some truth of in the philosophy as well. There's a thing called determinism, right? Determinism is basically, okay, in Buddhism maybe they call it karma. It can be called different things. Hello. So everyone is born with that sort of determinism, which is things of our past that makes us who we are. Our determinism could be, for example, our financial background. It could be our childhood trauma. It could be our generation trauma. Could be family trauma, family traits and characteristics distinct to our family. It could be anything. This determinism is something that shapes us who we are. It's something that brings us here. It's like, imagine that you are on like the waveboard. How you call it? Wakeboard? Not wakeboard. How you call it? Like surfing board. Yes. If you are on a surfing board, and then you are riding along with the wave, right? The determinism is exactly the wave that push you to be in the position at a certain time. Still, you have that determinism, right? Still, it is still up to you anyway to interfere with the direction, to control the direction of where you want to turn your surfing board. Wait, what? Why did I say? Where you want to turn your surfboard to? Okay, let's say you are in the middle of the sea and you see the lighthouse, but the lighthouse is so far away on the left, maybe 200 meters on the left. How do I go from here to there? Of course, you start to shift the direction. It wouldn't change overnight. Okay, you wouldn't appear at the lighthouse straight away, but as long as you keep controlling the direction like this, it will shape you to be in that direction, and you will get closer to the dream, to the goal, to anything that you would like to achieve, basically. Hello, everyone. So I do a book club in English as promised. So let's see how it goes. Quite shy, but it's okay. So, and yeah, so there's a lot of people who say that I have this life because I was born poor. I was born like this. Yes, you were born like this. You have the determinism like this. You came here because you came here like this, but still you can still be in control of the direction and head for something that you want. Head for the direction that you want anyway. And also the lesson here is also to know what you want. And it is often said in the book that when a person really decides something, all the universe conspires to help that person to realize his or her dream. And it comes down to how bad you want it. So there's a challenge for you here, like my dear viewers. So what do you truly want to achieve or desire in life? Maybe if you feel comfortable, you can definitely leave the comments here, but of course you can also keep it to yourself and however you feel like it, of course. Next is to make a choice. The Alchemist said that there is only one way to learn, and it's through an action. Everything you need to know, you have to learn through the journey. Yes, definitely. I never had a life before. I don't know if it will work out. Sometimes there are no people, sometimes there are 4 people, sometimes there are 5 people. Yes, but I'm learning how to do a live. I started first time maybe sort of like yesterday and last week. This is like one of my first time that I do live as well, so I'm still learning, and the only way to learn is to do it, and is to fail, is to be comfortable with failing. I'm gonna fail anyway. Everything that I do, I know I'm gonna fail at it, but I want to fail at it, because if I don't fail at it, I will never succeed. I have to fail before I can be good at it. I have to fail, and there's no way to that. I would say in Asian culture, at least in Thailand, which is like our country suffers so much on like people with low self-esteem. Most of us are raised to be like so low self-esteem because our education system makes us so squared, and we rarely get to express our opinion. So we always have to do things right, and if it's not right, like A, B, C, D, but A, B, C, D, find the right answer, and that was basically the fundamental of our education system. But it's actually very bad, because in our lives there are so many choices, there are endless choices that we can choose, and everyone is trying to approach a life with the sense of, I have got to guess, like, oh, what is the right choice to do? A, B, C, or D. You are still here. Thank you so much for your support. Thank you so much, she's my cousin. We are built-in best friends. So happy that you are here. So basically, we always have to guess what is the right choice and correct choice. And when we don't make the right choice, especially the first time, we get panicked, we get freaked out, and we became so, I am such a failure. Of course, you are a failure. I'm a failure too. I live maybe 3 times, and not so many people are here, probably. But my friend told me that I just need to keep putting on live, and then it will be all good. But for the first time, it's gonna be a little bit less people, but it's okay. I'm practicing, and of course, we will fail the whole time in our life when we are new to something. But because we fail, we became good at it. So it's all about being comfortable to fail, I think, at least. Okay, so And there's a beauty in the struggle, and it's a struggle to achieve your dream, of course, but don't give up. Like life, okay, we're gonna be like saying some profanity here, so like life will fuck everyone basically. And it is also said that those who has dream will be severely tested before he reaches the destination, and I totally agree with that. Like life is not easy. When you look at people who are highly successful, of course at certain point of time I used to be like, wow, like, oh, jealous, I would like to be as successful as them. But actually, to be highly successful like that, okay, you either need a very good family connection, you have to have somewhere some good determinism that plays a role, of course, but that's their life. It's okay for me. And also at the same time, you may have to go through a lot of pressure, like pressure to perform, pressure to be good. It's so much pressure to really be there. And like, do you really want to have that much pressure in your life? Like, it's up to you, but people will suffer for their dream, and that's true. The dream is not always glitz and glam. It's not a road full of roses, of course. Okay, so let's do a reflection here, like stop for a while. So what is your personal legend? And also, what is your omens? Like, you can leave the comment down below, or otherwise you can reflect yourself. I mean, I don't want to tell you to do and seem like I'm bossing you around, but I also would love to have some engagement on my comments, on my post as well. That would be nice. By the way, whatever you feel comfortable with. I'm already happy that you watched to this point and that you hear my voice. Makes my day already. Alright, so there's a reflection about this book that we're gonna talk about. Maybe not so quickly, but it's almost the end, but let's try. So, why is the book named Alchemist? Although the Alchemist appears quickly only in the book. And I think that the reason that it's called The Alchemist is because you are the alchemist to your own life. It's specifically assigned to Santiago that he is an alchemist to his life. Because he took the journey, he changes. Because alchemist is like a science that deals with the change of the substances, turning lead into gold. And by taking on this journey, Santiago, from a normal, boring boy, he became a legend of the desert, basically, and learned a lot of things. So it actually means that the alchemist, you are the alchemist to your own life. I think that's my opinion, but of course you can definitely think differently. Okay, by the way, Santiago learned to purify his soul, listen to his heart, and speak the language of the universe. Again, language of the world, language of the universe was very prevalent in the book, actually. And it also said that everyone can achieve a personal legend, even the shepherd. So now we go to the literary devices in The Alchemist by Paulo Coelho. So it is written in the third person omniscient view. I hope that I read it right. I'm not sure, you can tell me. God omniscient, like God-like view, basically. Is okay, there are 4 perspectives when it comes to storytelling. First is I perspective. It's usually used by the bloggers. I, like writing diary. Then talking to you, it can also be like overlapping with the first one. Like when you read a book, you will feel as though that the book is talking to you. Like it's like sitting having a conversation with the book, basically. Then an I perspective probably feels more like a monologue, like you get into the person's thoughts and feels more like stream of consciousness, existentialism, Albert Camus, something like that. We get into that later. And the third person limited is like a third person's perspective, observing the event all around, but they don't get into the mind of the people, basically. They don't get into the mind of the characters. And a third person omniscient view or godlike view is like the writer knows everything. Like the narrator knows everything, knows what everyone thinks and knows everyone's thought. And usually third person omniscient view offers a really, really nice way to write a book, because it makes it's up to the writer to make the book seems more rich, since he or she knows everything that is going on there. And the book is a metaphor of the quest to the dream. Like a metaphor is sort of an analogy. I mean, it's quite interchangeable, right? But basically it's like a symbol. Again, a symbol is also differently to a quest to the dream life, and that is not easy. It has a lot of elements of magical realism, which is the real world with fantasy, making the fantasy seems really seamless in the real world, basically, as we talked about. Interesting word, soul of the world. Soul of the world is being mentioned many times. Like, soul of the world is actually nourished by happiness, by envy, and all events, as it is actually written by the same hand. They didn't say the same hand of God, but written by the same hand. And to accomplish legend, you have to overcome the soul of the world. Soul of the world is the interconnection between things. Soul of the world, Santiago believes that everything was written by the same hand. And soul of the world will test you. And every search begins with the beginner's luck and ends with the victor being severely tested. Like beginner's luck, like first post that got viral, brings in a lot of followers, and afterwards the likes just like decline because you don't know how to make the same viral post happens again. It happens to me so many times, no matter how many blogs I owned before, but I would say that's beginner's luck. But I really hope to go beyond beginner's luck, actually. By the way, get back to that soul of the world. I would say soul of the world is like the reality of this world, the nature of this world, that it's so complicated, that everything and all things has its own individuality, and that it operates in their own interest according to it in their nature. Oh, hello everyone, thanks for the heart. And when everything and all things has its own individuality, it's sort of, when it comes to each other, it can cause either like some reactions, some like things that like can match really well and make things prosperous, or it can come into clash with others and make everything go wild and clash. So both good and bad. And for me, the soul of the world is just like the nature of how the world really is. And sometimes we like to think, oh, like life fucks me up. Why me? I'm such a nice girl, I'm such a nice boy, I'm a decent human being, super hardworking. But actually misery happens to everyone. It doesn't exclude you. You can do your best and bad things are still happening to you. And don't think that just because you're doing good things, like good things will always happen to you. Of course, like it helps, but it wouldn't guarantee that everything will be nice. So just like, but we still can minimize the severity of the things that come crashing into your life. So don't despair about that and keep going on with it, get on with it, and you will deal better with the years to come. When you are young, it can be hard. You are older, you will know better how to deal with all things in the world. So relax and take a breath, and it will be better. I promise, at least. It happens to me. By the way, we get to the quotes that is interesting in this book. What you want, when you want something, the universe conspires you to achieve it. I definitely believe that. There's only one thing that makes a dream impossible: fear of failure. That's very true. If you don't fail, you don't achieve. Next, the secret to life is to fail 7 times and get up 8 times, definitely. The simple things are the most ordinary things, and the only wise can see them. Oh, definitely, I agree. Being a traveler makes Santiago able to enjoy the conversation without expectation to fit. This is not a quote, this is my notes, but it's true. Like, I enjoy being a traveler a lot because I can get to have a lot of interesting conversation. People show me nice places, like nice food, and a lot of things that are exotic to me and very new. But of course, like, I was treated like a guest that I so appreciated, and it was so nice of them. Thank you so much if you watch this. But like, when you spend a long time in a certain place, then you start to get expected, that people start to expect you to really like fit into the custom. And I mean, just the nature of the world, like, so the world operates like that. So sometimes it's also fun to be a traveler, but over time it's also nice to find the right place and that you feel comfortable with, of course. So, okay, did I finish this? Let me check. Yes, I finished it. So, okay, I was writing some reflections. I just want to share with you quickly that every time I write post or like when I finish some live session or something, I usually write some reflections, and the topic of the reflections would be something I did well and also something to improve. And when I write this, it actually helps me to also work better. I think that not only that you should just keep doing, but you also need to pause and then spend some time reflecting whether you did a good enough job or not, or what can I improve, what can I not. Like, you really need to develop ways to gain the feedback from your work. You can ask your followers, of course, thank you so much if you watch it here. You need the feedback. Just don't be crazy and like just work the whole time. Of course, I seem like that at a certain point, but like I learned that it doesn't work for me. So work, pause, feedback. No, work, pause, reflect, feedback, work, pause, reflect, feedback. Like reflect a lot. Pause, and reflect. And it will actually lead you to a better place for sure. And by the way, that's it for today for the book club in English, The Alchemist by Paulo Coelho, which is the Brazilian author. So I'm curating some more books to talk about in the book club. So please keep following, subscribing, and if you like me, please give us a thumbs up, please press likes, please share it with your friends, and thank you so much for today, and goodbye.